I never expected a sentence like that to hang in my head for days. We should forget this. The way she said it was steady, almost casual, but my chest didn't get the message. Even now, I can hear her voice, calm but weighted, like she was trying to sweep dust under a rug that still left its outline. But I should start where it really began. The first time I saw her, I wasn't supposed to be noticing anyone at all. I was just clocking in for another long shift at the repair shop, greasy hands, the smell of oil, the usual rhythm of tools clinking against metal. Nothing romantic about it. Then she walked in. She didn't belong there, not in the way customers usually did, impatient, distracted, scrolling through their phones while I explained costs. She was different, mid-40s maybe, with dark hair pulled into a loose bun, strands escaping in a way that looked deliberate even if it wasn't. Her jacket was practical, her shoes scuffed, but there was a composure about her, the kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. She leaned against the counter, eyes narrowing slightly as she tried to describe the noise her car had been making. "It's not grinding exactly," she said, tilting her head, searching for the right word. "More like when someone sighs through their teeth." I couldn't help but smile at the description, not because it was funny, but because she said it like she cared about getting it right. Most people just say, "It's broken. Fix it." But she wanted me to understand. "You're actually not far off," I said, grabbing a clipboard. "That could be the brakes. We'll take a look." She gave a small, almost hidden smile, then tapped her fingers against the counter. A restless, precise rhythm, like she was buying time in silence. And for a second, it felt like the shop had gone too quiet, the hum of machines and chatter of coworkers falling back. Just her and me, her fingers tapping, my eyes lingering too long. I looked away first. Later, when I pulled her car into the bay, I caught her watching me through the glass office window. Not staring exactly, more like studying, as if she was weighing something. When I turned, she shifted, pretended to read a sign on the wall. But the heat of that glance stuck with me. By the time I brought her the estimate, my voice betrayed me with a crack. She didn't point it out, but I saw the flicker of amusement in her eyes, the kind of look that says I noticed without saying it aloud. "You're younger than I expected," she said, out of nowhere. I froze. "Is that bad?" She let the question hang before shaking her head. "Not bad, just surprising." Then she signed the paperwork with a firm, elegant stroke, like she had closed the matter. But something in her tone stayed open, unfinished. When she left that day, she thanked me with a smile that lasted a second too long. And as the door swung shut behind her, I realized I was standing there with grease on my hands and a pulse in my throat I couldn't calm. That was the spark. Not fireworks, not some grand confession, just a pause, a look, a sentence that wouldn't leave me alone. And ever since, I've been replaying it in my head. The way she said it, the way I answered, the quiet charge that made the ordinary feel like something I should never forget. Even if she told me I should. The second time she came back, it was raining. Not a heavy downpour, but the kind that makes the air smell metallic, the kind that seeps into your sleeves if you stand outside too long. I was finishing paperwork when I saw her car ease into the lot again. She stepped out with an umbrella that looked older than she was, faded fabric, one rib bent the wrong way. Still, she carried it like it belonged. She always seemed to belong, even when everything around her didn't. "Thought we fixed it," I said as she approached, more to cover the sudden thud in my chest than because I needed to ask. Her smile was brief, a little tight. "We did. Mostly. But it's making another sound. Probably me imagining things." I shook my head. Machines don't let you imagine. They either make a sound, or they don't. That earned a soft laugh. Low, not rehearsed, the kind that sneaks out before a person realizes it. And maybe because it was small, it felt even more personal. While I checked her car again, she stayed close this time, not waiting in the office. She leaned against the wall of the bay, arms crossed, jacket damp at the shoulders. She looked tired in a way makeup couldn't cover, the faint heaviness under her eyes, the way she pressed her lips together between sentences. "You don't have to stand there," I said, glancing up from under the hood. "I like watching people work," she replied, then added quickly, "I mean, it's calming. You seem steady." The word landed heavier than it should have. Steady. No one had called me that before. For a moment, she seemed like she was going to say something else, but her jaw tightened. She turned her head away, fingers tracing the edge of her sleeve. It was a small thing, but it looked like hesitation, like she wanted to let something out, and pulled it back in. I wiped my hands on a rag, trying not to stare, trying not to ask. Instead, I noticed her hands, the faint veins, the small scar on her thumb, the rings she didn't wear. Her nails weren't polished. They were practical, short, but clean. There was something more revealing in that than if they had been done up. You look like you've had a long week, I said carefully, half testing, half caring. Her laugh this time was lighter, but it didn't reach her eyes. You have no idea. Then silence stretched, broken only by the hum of rain outside the bay. When I finished, I told her the car was fine, nothing serious. She thanked me, but instead of walking off right away, she lingered by the open hood, close enough that I caught the faintest trace of her perfume, mixed with rain. Neither of us spoke. The air wasn't heavy, but it wasn't casual either. It was something in between, something neither of us had named yet. And then she looked up, straight into me, and for half a second I swear the whole shop disappeared. She blinked, broke the gaze, and stepped back. I should go, but the warmth of that moment, that 1 second of being seen, stayed long after she drove away. It was late when she came by the third time. Too late for a customer, really. The shop was half dark, the front office lights off, only the bay lamps throwing long shadows across the floor. I was closing up when her headlights cut across the wet asphalt. She stepped out holding a paper bag, a sheepish smile on her face. I owe you dinner. Consider this my apology for showing up so much. I laughed, though it came out uneven. Customers don't usually bring food. Then I'm not a usual customer, she said, and set the bag on the workbench. Inside was takeout, nothing fancy, just noodles, but the kind that tasted better with company. We sat on overturned crates, eating straight from the cartons with plastic forks. Rain drummed against the metal roof, steady and low. For a while, it was easy. She told me about a book she was reading. I told her about a botched repair job from last week. We laughed more than we should have. But then the quiet came, as it always did with her. She put down her fork, staring at the streaks of water sliding down the bay door. Her hands rested in her lap, twisting the napkin until it tore. Do you ever feel, she said softly, like you've missed something? Like there was a door you should have walked through, but didn't? The question landed sharp in my chest. Yeah, I said after a pause. All the time. She gave me a look then, not long, not even obvious, but enough. And for a moment, the air between us wasn't filled with rain or silence, but possibility. My knee brushed hers, not on purpose, not entirely an accident either. Neither of us moved. I thought of saying it. Something, anything to break open the thing I kept carrying in my throat. But before I could, her phone buzzed. She fumbled for it quickly, too quickly, and turned the screen away. I caught only the glow on her face, the way her mouth tightened. Sorry, she muttered, standing abruptly. I should take this. She stepped just outside the bay, voice low, words muffled by rain. I didn't need to hear details to know it wasn't a stranger. The tone was too sharp, too familiar, the way people talk when they've been tied to someone for too long. When she came back, her smile was practiced, thinner. Thanks for dinner, I said, trying to mask the sting in my chest. Thank you, she replied, eyes softening for just a second. She reached out, touched my forearm, light, fleeting, but enough to stop me breathing. Her hand lingered an instant longer than necessary, then slipped away. I almost caught it. I almost held on, but I didn't. Instead, I watched her leave again, the smell of rain and noodles hanging in the air, and wondered if I'd ever forgive myself for not moving when I had the chance. The shop was almost empty when she came again, later than usual. I'd been sweeping the floor, the scrape of the broom echoing in the cavernous space. She didn't even bother with an excuse this time, just stood there in the doorway, watching me like she wasn't sure if she should step inside. You're here late, I said, breaking the quiet. So are you. Her tone was calm, but something in her eyes wasn't. She closed the door behind her, shutting out the street noise. For a while, the only sound was the soft hum of the soda machine and the faint whistle of wine through the cracked windows. I leaned the broom against the wall. Are we going to keep pretending this is normal? Her breath caught, barely audible, but I heard it. She took a step closer, then stopped, arms folded tight across her chest like she was holding herself together. I don't know what we're doing, she admitted finally, voice low. That's the problem. I shouldn't even be here. The words landed heavy, but I couldn't back off. And yet you are. She shook her head, a bitter laugh escaping. You're too young to understand what this means. Try me. Her eyes flicked to mine, lingered, then dropped to the floor. She pressed her fingers against her temples, exhaling slow. It's not about attraction. It's about what it says about me. About choices I've made. About mistakes I don't want to repeat. I wanted to reach out, to tell her I didn't see her as a mistake, but I stayed rooted. My hands curled into fists at my sides, nails biting into skin. Do you regret it? I asked quietly. Her head snapped up. What? Coming here. Talking to me. Sitting in this silence. Her lips parted, but no sound came out at first. She closed them again, swallowed, then whispered, No. That's the worst part. I don't. The words cracked something open inside me. We stood there, locked in a stare too long, too raw. Every second stretched until the air itself felt fragile. Finally, she turned away, pacing a few steps, her shoes scuffing against the concrete. This can't go on. People will notice. I'll notice. I forced a laugh that didn't sound like mine. We've already noticed. That stopped her. She froze, back still to me, shoulders tense. Then, slowly, she faced me again. Her expression was stripped of every practiced smile, every guarded mask. Just tired eyes, full of something I couldn't name. What happens if we don't stop? I asked before I could swallow it back. Her answer was nothing, just silence, thick and trembling. But her silence said more than any touch could have. When she finally spoke, it was a whisper, fragile and devastating. You'll hate me for it someday. The next time I saw her wasn't in the shop. It was at the grocery store, of all places. A Wednesday night, the aisles nearly empty, the fluorescent lights too harsh on tired faces. She was in the tea section, holding two boxes like the choice mattered more than it should. I almost walked past. Almost. But something about the way she stood, shoulders heavy, hair a little undone, her hand lingering too long on a box she wasn't really reading, pulled me in. Didn't think I'd find you here, I said softly. Her head jerked up, surprise flashing before she smoothed it away with a faint smile. Everyone has to buy groceries, don't they? We ended up walking the aisles together, our carts nearly empty. It wasn't planned, but neither of us drifted away. Somewhere between the bread and the canned soup, she stopped, fingers resting on a jar she didn't put in her cart. Her eyes went distant, like she wasn't looking at the shelves anymore. You remind me of someone, she said suddenly. The words were quiet, but cut straight through. Who? I asked before I could think better of it. She hesitated, lips pressing together, then exhaled. My brother. He was younger than me, too. Always fixing things. Always steady, even when he shouldn't have had to be. Her voice wavered, just once. He died 10 years ago. Car accident. The jar in her hand trembled slightly before she set it down. I froze, the weight of her words pulling the air from my lungs. I didn't know, I said uselessly. Of course you didn't. She gave a small, strained smile. I don't talk about it. Not with anyone. But when I'm around you, it's like pieces of him come back. The way you listen. The way you don't rush to fill the silence. I didn't know what to do with my hands, so I kept them on the cart, knuckles white. Part of me wanted to reach for her, but another part knew it wasn't the moment. Not yet. Does that bother you? I asked carefully. Her eyes glistened, though she blinked the tears away before they could fall. It terrifies me, because I don't know if I'm drawn to you for you, or for the shadow of someone I already lost. The aisle felt too narrow then, the shelves too close. I swallowed hard, searching for words and finding only one truth. I'm not him. I know, she whispered, almost to herself. Then she looked at me, really looked, as though trying to separate memory from reality. For a long, fragile moment, neither of us moved. The store around us might as well have vanished. Finally, she pushed her cart forward, breaking the spell. But before turning the corner, she said, voice low and trembling, "And that's what scares me most." It happened on a night that didn't look like anything. No rainstorm, no excuses. Just a slow evening where the shop was empty, the streets outside thinning into quiet. She stopped by again, not with a reason this time, but with 2 cups of coffee. One for me, one for her. We sat in the office, the heater buzzing faintly, the air smelling of old paper and machine oil. Neither of us spoke at first. We didn't need to. The silence between us had shifted, no longer something we filled, but something that held us. "I've been thinking," she said finally, her voice low. "That's dangerous." I tried to joke, but my words cracked halfway through. She gave me that look, the one that caught me every time, half stern, half vulnerable. "You know this isn't what either of us expected." I nodded, fingers circling the rim of my coffee cup. Maybe that's the point. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she leaned back, eyes tracing the ceiling as though the answer might be written up there. For a long time, we just listened to the hum of the heater, the faint tick of the wall clock. Then, softly, "I don't want to ruin you." The words cut, but I shook my head. "You're not ruining anything. You're reminding me I'm alive." She looked at me sharply, like she wanted to argue. But her face softened instead, and she dropped her gaze to the cup in her hands. Her fingers tightened around it, knuckles pale. I reached out, slowly, giving her space to pull away. My hand brushed hers, tentative, almost nothing. But she didn't move. Her hand was warm, steady, and for the first time, she let it stay. Neither of us said a word. We just sat like that, our hands barely touching, coffee cooling between us. Finally, she whispered, "This isn't love the way people write about it." "I know. It's quieter. Quieter can last," I said, surprising myself. Her breath shuddered, the kind that isn't quite a sigh, not quite a sob. She shifted, leaning forward until her forehead rested lightly against mine. No kiss, no rush, just the simple press of skin against skin, as if to say, "Here we are. No more running." The clock ticked on. The heater hummed. Life outside continued, oblivious. But in that small office, in that fragile closeness, everything changed. We didn't declare anything. We didn't promise forever. We just sat in the silence that had once threatened to break us, now holding us together. And for the first time, I didn't need words to know what we were. Looking back now, I realized the story wasn't about how we met, or even about what we became. It was about the space in between, the silences, the pauses, the moments that felt too fragile to name. I used to think love had to be loud. Big gestures, bold words, dramatic promises. But with her, I learned it could be quiet. Love could be in the way she showed up with coffee without asking if I wanted any. In the way she lingered after saying she should leave. In the way her hand trembled just before it found mine. We never declared it. There was no cinematic confession, no sweeping embrace. What we had grew in the unsaid, in the restraint, in the kind of honesty that hurts because it's real. And yet, it changed me. I became steadier, not because she needed me to be, but because I wanted to be. Because for the first time, someone saw me not as a kid fumbling through life, but as a man who could carry weight without breaking. She gave me that gift without ever wrapping it in words. And her? She stopped running from herself. She let someone close, even though it scared her. She let her laughter spill out, unguarded. She let her silences soften, until they became less about hiding and more about sharing. Did it last? That's not the question that matters. What matters is that it happened. That in the middle of ordinary days, repair shops, grocery aisles, rain-soaked nights, we found something extraordinary. Something that didn't ask for forever, but still left its mark. Because sometimes love isn't about claiming someone. Sometimes it's about being changed by them. About carrying a piece of their presence in the way you see the world afterward. Even now, when I hear the faint hum of rain on a roof, I think of her leaning against the wall of the bay, arms crossed, trying to look composed while her eyes betrayed everything. I think of the way her forehead rested against mine that night. No words, no promises, just quiet recognition. And I realized that was enough. More than enough. If you're listening to this, maybe you felt it too. The pull towards someone you weren't supposed to fall for. The silence that spoke louder than any confession. Maybe you've learned, like I did, that the things we don't plan are often the ones that shape us the most. So here's my question to you. Have you ever had a moment like that? A connection that didn't need labels, but changed you all the same? Think about it. And if you feel like sharing, I'll be here to listen.